Good morning.
Good morning. Buenos días. Sabah al-khair. Sabah al-khair. That's exactly the right answer. In the welcoming, thank you so much. In the welcoming, we thought we'd do the school thing. The African roots of progressive education. So let's just start with the greeting, right? Hello.
Hello.
Hola.
Hola.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Hotep. Oh. So you know what Hotep means? Well, come on with it then. This is totally an engagement part. What does Hotep mean and what language is it in?
Egyptian.
There we go.
That's all I know.
So that's the start, that's the seed. The seeds are already within us. The seeds of the things that we need to know. This is the old pedagogy, right? The Egyptian mysteries. All right, so you knew the far answer. Hotep is an Egyptian salutation. We think ancient Egypt, and it means. Does anybody know what it means?
The rising of the sun? The rising of the sun?
Well, that is a very good guess. Makes it just like good morning, which is welcoming the rising of the sun. Well, look at that. Are we ancient Egyptians? Are we sun worshippers?
I think so.
Today is Saturn's day. But. So you got that. One translation would be to say it means peace, but I like that, sun rising, because when the sun rises, like in Chinese calligraphy, but I don't know if I can find that fast, but the word for peace in Chinese, the word for harmony, we'll do it in a little bit. Thank you, Bo. The word for harmony in the Chinese character is crop. It combines two characters, crop and mouth. So when the crops are up and the mouths are full, we can have peace, right? So the sun rising and peace, yeah, it all makes sense. Okay, watch the time, make the connections. So what does hola mean? And what language is it in? That's an easy one in New York.
Spanish.
Sí, en español. Y there's another one that's similar that I don't think I said. Allo. Allo.
Hello.
Nobody comes from a Euro country. Most Euro countries do allo.
Hello.
All right, and we said aloha. And what language is that?
Hawaiian.
An indigenous language. All right. So if I didn't have to hold this and I could get my board, I'd make those words. So put those words in your head. Hello, alo, hola, aloha, hotep. And see what you see if you're studying them visually. Anybody see anything? We're doing multilateral comparisons here now. Do you see any similarity? Huh? Oh, they start with H. They then go to a vowel. I'm throwing it away now. Then they go to a consonant. Yeah, this combination. Hotep. Okay, so I gotta ask this, and then jump all the way in. So what does hello mean? English speakers. You got a lot of hints. What does hello mean? Now, let's go back to school. When we hit a word that we don't know what it means, we break it down. Right? We break it down. You're not going to tell me you live in New York and you don't know what H-E-L-L means.
It's the opposite of goodbye, which is God be with you. So hello is something with L that, like, but I don't know where the O actually is derivative from.
Hello. Hola. Aloha. Hotel. And this one? Alo, the one I put this one. I'm dropping the euros. So they're connected. Can everybody see? Mm-hmm. Well, it's still in your head, right? They're all connected. They have some connections. And very good lead, thank you. That something as goodbye is as an incantation of good wishes. Something, and yeah, the hell thing I wasn't playing. Heal from Norse mythology, right? Is what does anybody with your Norse mythology? Heal. Well, what is hell? Who lives there? Come on. And DUAT. Come on. Lots of hints are here.
The devil.
Hell, who inhabits hell?
The devil.
The devil, and who else? The dead. The dead. Heal in Norse mythology, in sort of the Christian place we've gone to, only the bad people go to hell. In Norse mythology, Heal was simply the land of the dead. Right?
Like the underworld.
The underworld. I mean, like, here's the other connection. What day is tomorrow?
Sunday.
Yeah, it's Sunday. And it's a particular Sunday. It's a particular ritual Sunday. And it is what?
There.
Oh my. We're there. The Day of the Dead, and in English we talk about the Eve of All Hallows. And a hallowed place is a, what kind of place?
Holy and sacred.
Sacred, we're there. It's a sacred place. So when I say, hello, it's actually like, namaste. Or hotep, which tickles them. Because it's a liminal space. It's a space of beginning. So you have all of this Egyptian cosmology in you already. But we can go into a whole, and the librarians can come back up here and we can rip it, go into a whole thing about how come we don't know that. How come we don't know where what we know comes from. So we're there, right? According to the ancients, in the beginning was Nu, or none, which was everything and nothing. Endless becoming. Turning and returning. And from that space arose being. The essence of being. The essence of being which, you could say partly was the light of the sun, and you could say partly was perspective, and centrally was Ma'at. Balance, justice, and it's being called out by somebody who I feel like is in all through the play, but I don't know if they said it, if he got credit. We, the librarian's God, off. The writer's God. all of which is arising from everything and nothing, and always going to return there. Right? Just like every day, the sun rises from the cosmic waters, rides across the sky in its boat, and dies in the west. And then has to fight through the 12 hours of the night, through the space, part of DUAT, part of noon called DUAT, right? Has to fight through that space, fighting demons and destruction, decomposition, disintegration, to be born again each morning. It is the reenactment of the sun's journey, the journey of the star, the journey of the cosmos, that is at the core of the Egyptian mystery system and Daniel's doings.
And I would add into this that one of the things, Gale and I have known each other probably for about 14 years,
At least
14 years. And
on this planet.
Yeah, and we met. But one of our earliest conversations really had to do with a preoccupation with systems of knowing that we don't typically have access to, and that in our culture we tend to hew back to sets of mythology that are, we have the Greek as the primary set of mythology that we have access to, somewhat Norse mythology. There are indigenous myths that we have access to, but Egyptian mythology is lesser known, although it's such a primary root of so much that we actually inhabit and that we know. And so, being a child in the library in Springfield, one of the things that was so powerful was that that mythic system was available to me. The librarians made it available, and I'm sure many folks are aware that there have been so many historical struggles around the ownership of Egyptian mythology, having to do with questions of colonialism and race, and whether or not Egypt is African, or whether it's viewed as quote-unquote Middle Eastern, or of...
Change the name.
Just change, right, exactly, this thing, But what is true is that this is a mythic system that is rooted in an astronomical cattle herding culture that was thousands of years older than Egypt, that was at the base of the Nile River, which is actually in central southern Africa. And that many of the symbols that are part of Egyptian mythology can be seen in these early cattle herding cultures, right? And that means that these were cultural modalities that were rooted in the rhythms of the earth, the cycles of life, as Gale is talking about, like paying attention to the rhythms of sunrise and sunset, shifts in weather, shifts in patterns of migration. The great miracle of the Nile, right, being that there was this regular flooding and receding of the water that caused vegetation, and then when it receded, things dried up and people went through very hard times. And so one of the things that really interests me now is thinking about how we talk about the difficult passages that we're in culturally, and what are the mythic systems that can help us to understand it on a deeply human level. We don't talk about the shadows a lot. We don't talk about death in American culture a great deal. And we are more often...
Just kill a lot of people.
We kill well. But I don't know, the Egyptian gods always spoke to me because I felt that there was the capacity inside of them inside of this mythic system, I should say, to abide with the shadowy aspects of our experience on the planet, to abide with the parts of the mystery that were not disconnected from a full natural cycle, if that makes sense.
We have just a couple of minutes left.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah.
All right, but can we, does anybody want to ask a question or make a point or something? I'm sorry, we're like, yeah, I love highways. Yes.
Have you or dealt with young children and teaching them about myths and things like that? And are there certain
He's asking me.
Yeah, but you know you have, so you should ask.
and are they attracted
That's
more,
what we do.
that's more attractive to certain myths, certain schools of myth than others, or they just go for it all? Or none of it?
Well, the truth is that everything is everything, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm talking about the moon, right, and showing the character of the moon and teaching about language around the moon, that we're also looking at this whole ancient history, right? Or if somebody then says, well, I have that on Nickelodeon or whatever, of course, all of this is stemming from these root ancient mythologies, right? So the connections that we see between languages, for instance, are abiding human connections, right? These are what the anthropologists talk about, the web, right? That is culture. Would you take the time, though, that we just call out the names of the gods that are in the
I'll just
piece?
call out the names that are in this piece. There is Ma'at, who is the goddess of justice and balance, who is represented, Stacey Robinson, who's here, portrays her in part 2. And she's represented by the feather, which in the ancient ritual one's heart was weighed against the feather of Ma'at, and the hope was that your heart would be lighter than the feather in order for you to pass through.
Yes. And don't we see feathers throughout
Yes.
our African indigenous mythologies? Go ahead.
All of it. The birds are so important. And then the other god who is prominently featured is Anubis. And Anubis was in the earlier phases of ancient Egypt mythological systems was the tender of the dead. Solely, and that changed over time. But his role was as an embalmer. He would actually tend the bodies of the dead, and also he would accompany the soul moving through DUAT. And one of the ways that he manifests is through the presence of dogs or jackals.
Dog star?
In dreams. And people have talked about, like, when people are on death's door, that when a dog comes, that is representative of Anubis. Like, if they have a vision of a dog, which has happened a lot. People have made commentary about having that particular vision, which is an interesting thing. I want to read one quick thing before we get out of here, which is the Egyptian Book of the Dead, which is basically an assemblage of scrolls and texts that had to do with the funereal rites in ancient Egypt. It's not a literal book, but it's a collection of funereal texts. There was a translation that was done in the mid-late 1980s by this poet Normandy Ellis, who I highly encourage anyone who's interested to read this book, Awakening Osiris. But one of the roots for DUAT is this book, and I want to just read. There's a hymn to Ra, the sun. Hello, right? Hello. And just a passage from this. She notes, "Bless the face of God above us and the reflection of God on earth below. Bless the veil of clouds that guard his secrets. Bless life stirring below the surface of skin, the discomfort of human weakness and mortality, loss and suffering, the misunderstandings that prick consciousness and prod men toward truth." That idea that we are perhaps, I think Jomama mentions it in the show, that are we perhaps in a kind of DUAT? Are we in a place where, in our country especially, we're at a time of reckoning that brings us face to face with our own historical demons, with our own failings and fears? And if we are there lessons from these ancient systems about letting go, about transmuting and transforming and about reimagining a way to be in the world. I think there's so much information available to us that we don't typically have access to, so go to the library, you know, really. But reading these stories and going to all of these ancient mythic
About
systems.
remembering the torn body.
Yes.
Remembering the torn. That's a homework assignment to find out about Osiris.
Yes.
Because to me, throughout this piece, Daniel is Osiris. He's the dead remembering and reclaiming the name towards resurrection.
Thank you.
Thank you.